Chi's dyno. The dyno is awesome. The people who run there, thanks to getting to Chi and Carlos, really love those guys up there. If you ever need anything dynoed, make sure to go see them. And here's a few clips of our dyno passes. Make the power that I wanted to. Chi's dyno's known to be like a heartbreaker and read a little low compared to like a dyno jet. Most of those numbers you see. Car made 449 horse, 560 torque. Calculated out if it was on a dyno jet, it'd probably make low 500s, but about 600 torque. So that's really good. It's good power for NA. You know, of course, with no nitrous in that, just on motor. Just not really where I wanted it to be. It was really dying up top. We just can't get the thing to breathe up top, and probably a cam change would help out, but it's good for now. I'm going to leave it for a drag week. That's the way it's going to be. Next, we took it out to the racetrack and ran a couple passes on it, and man, the thing's just dying up top. It just gets up to like $5 grand and just falls over on its face. And we're thinking that the problem with that is the converter. So we decided to go ahead and order a PTC converter for it and throw the PTC in and just see how it does. I mean, at this point, it needs a converter anyways. The old converter would blow past on the nitrous, so eventually I'm going to need to put a converter no matter what. But we figured we'd go ahead and try it and see if that would help out the RPM range some and see what it does. And here's everything on putting the converter in. Okay guys, so I started on this the other night. I got a lot of the bolts out, converter bolts out, and drive shaft out and things like that. One of the problems I ran into is, of course, with me moving the motor back and up, bolts for the transmission are really close to the firewall now. One's actually like nearly touching. So what my plan is to do this. I originally thought like, oh, I'll cut the firewall out, but I don't really want to do all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this header off. Yeah, see how rusty it is now? Typical car. Take this header off, take the collector off of that side header, take this bolt out of the motor mount while the car's in the air, take this whole motor mount clamshell off, and let the motor tilt down on this side. That should give me clearance to the bolts. I pop the transmission out, pop the new converter in, pop the transmission back in, we'll be all done. Should be easy as that, right? Let's see. Header's off the car. Now I just need to get this motor mount bolt out, put a stand underneath here, and get all this stuff out. Hopefully we can get it done pretty quick and not hit my head on too many things. Well, hard to believe it, but this actually worked. Transmission is on the jack right here. The motor is tilted over and sitting onto the subframe right there, and I can actually get to the last bolt. Yeah, you can see it right there. I can get to that now. So I'm going to loosen up those bolts, slide the transmission back a little bit, and drop the whole thing out of the car. Well, not drop, but lower carefully the whole thing out of the car. And just like that, the transmission's out. Cooler lines are still leaking a little bit, and having a lift is really nice, so you can thank Chiho for that. Slap the new converter in it, and then put everything back up. That's what's next. One of the big mistakes a lot of people make when they put a converter in is they don't get it clicked all the way, and then you're going to put the transmission up to the motor, and it binds the torque converter up real bad. So you want to make sure you get those 3 clicks that everybody talks about. I also put some lithium grease on this input, so it'll grease the seal, and I put about a quart of transmission fluid, the FTI transmission fluid, inside of the converter. So now I'm just going to set it on there, put it in, and spin it to locate it, get it onto the pump. There it goes. There. Now we have plenty of clearance between our converter and our bell housing so that our flywheel can sit in there and bolt right to it. 2 important things to do when you're putting a converter in or a transmission in. One is to make sure that you get transmission fluid all over your flip-flops so they're nice and slippery so you fall everywhere. Number 2 is to measure out your clearance between your in-play on your converter and your flywheel. PTC recommends between an 1/8 inch and a 16th or a 3/16, and we are right at an 1/8 inch, a little bit over. So we are really good and ready to bolt up. One of the things that I was worried about was on drag week, possibly pulling a trailer. I haven't decided yet, but this big converter is going to be slipping a lot, and it'll cause a lot of heat, and I want to make sure I keep an eye on that. I haven't had a transmission temperature gauge in the car, so I bought a cheap Automotive one, and I'm going to drill and tap the pan. So I'll take the pan off to do that, and once we get that done, I can run all the rest of the wires and all that stuff. And now it's just kind of hooking up the last few things, and we'll be ready to put it on the ground and see what it runs. So here's the transmission temperature gauge that I got. It is just a cheapy Autometer, but it will do the job. What I like about it is there's no, it's electronic, so there's no like hard cable going into the transmission. So that means I don't have to like change things out or any of that stuff. Like take the sending unit out when I drop the transmission. I can just unplug it or unscrew it like this. I also bought some NPT taps today when I was at the store, so I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna put this, and we'll drill the pan and install it. So like I said, it's gonna go in the pan. The shifter linkage goes right here, so I want to try to avoid this whole area. So I'm gonna come over to this side, and I think I'm just gonna go like right here. Sorry, zoom out a little bit. Right here in the bottom of the pan. There's plenty of room. I can pretty much go anywhere I want to on here. So I'll probably split these two bolts and just pop it in right there. So I want to make sure I drill this as low as possible into the pan. That way I actually get a good reading. If I have it way up here, I mean the fluid should still be there, but I want to make sure this thing is submerged in the fluid the entire time. So I'm going to have it pretty low in there. This will be sitting like right there. The pan is about 1/4 inch thick, so I want to have about that. That's where I want to go. One of the big problems with driving a race car on the street is the harmonics. So you really want to glue everything down, Loctite everything down you can, do all that. That way you keep things from rattling out and giving you issues. Important to clean out the pan. Make sure you get all your junk out of it, no metal shavings or any of that stuff. And I mean, it's out, so you might as well clean it. Unfortunately, I tore the gasket when I lowered the pan down, so I gotta run up to the auto parts store and get a gasket for it, because that's just the way the day's going. So I got my gasket, pan's on, transmission's ready to go, done. One of the things I wanted to do while the header was off was wrap it in some exhaust wrap. I still want to get these things ceramic coated. I'm just not there yet, so you know, don't yell at me for any of that stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this part that goes around where the steering knuckle is and where the brake master cylinder is. So I got just, 15 feet of it. Should go around this, use some safety wire to put it on, and do it real quick. And there we go. Header's wrapped, safety wired, ready to go. I'm gonna throw it back on the car and move on to the next project, which is finishing the gauge install. And I also want to have some adjustments I want to do to the brakes. I'll show you the brakes a little better. So that's next. Well, it's been a long day. Did a test drive. Car runs really good. I had to change the brakes a couple times. Temperature gauge is in. You guys haven't even seen the new shifter. Ballin'. So mufflers are on. The car is in full street mode. Got regular gas in it, 93 octane, and things like that. I've got my toolkit, and I'm ready to go. Tomorrow, going out Fun Day Sunday out at Orlando Speed World, and I have one goal: drive it there, run 10s on motor, and drive it home. If it does that, I will just be like the happiest person in the entire world. I need it. I need it real bad. 11.3 again. It was really, really hot out. Elevation was like 2,400 feet, 2,500 feet. It was like 98 degrees outside. But we drove the car there. No problems whatsoever. Made out there. It went 11.3 pretty much all day long. 122 miles an hour. Then drove it home. And other than the valve covers coming loose and leaking, it ran really good. I was really, really happy with the way it ran and all that. I just wish it was faster. So all we can do now is throw some stuff at it. I'm gonna borrow a carburetor, I think. I'm gonna try to change out the fuel pump, some things like that, and see if we can figure out what the deal is. But for right now, I'm happy enough with it, and just gotta do a little more testing and a little more tuning and get it right where I want it to be. But for now, that's the end, and catch you guys next time.